Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for part 2 of the Q&A, so let me get my hat on and get to this first question. Alright. Hey Jason, I'm currently running the cutting version of your novice program. I'm also trying to lose about 10 pounds of fat. Current profile pic is not recent. I'm going to start working at a hotel job, doing a job where I'll be on my feet walking around 8 hours a day. Do you think I should keep doing your program even when I start the job, or should I start a different program that is a little easier on my body? My current strength numbers while on your program are 225 squat, 185 pounds bench, 295 deadlift. Thanks in advance. Actually, if you haven't been that active, that new job is going to work wonders. You're going to be on your feet 8 hours a day, so 40 hours a week of walking. You're going to burn a lot of calories. Now, it's kind of like I've discussed in the past, and like I've discussed even with Brittany, changing a bit of what she's doing. Your strength is going to suffer. All right? Your strength is going to suffer. It's going to take you 3 or 4 weeks to adapt to that. And in the meantime, your lifts are going to regress. All right? That's just normal because you're not used to that level of extra physical activity. Your body's going to have to adapt to it. What I'm going to tell you to do, continue to run my program. Run my program. What I want you to do is take into account that your body's going to be more taxed. Keep running the cutting version, reduce all the weights 5%. Alright? Take 5% off everything you're doing right now. And stay there. I want you to stay there for the entire first month you're on your job. You know why? You'll preserve all your muscle mass. If you do that, even though it's 5% less than what you've been doing and you don't progress, no, you're not going to gain more muscle. But you just started a 40-hour-a-week job to where you're going to be walking 40 hours a week. Your body's going to have to adapt to that. You really think you're going to gain any muscle anyways? And if you do it this way, you back down, you will hopefully preserve all of your muscle, preserve all of your strength. You're probably going to need to eat more carbs. You're going to have to up your carbs a bit. But it's going to allow you to keep all of your progress. Then after about a month, when you're fully adapted to your new job, you don't get sore, you don't get tired from it anymore, then you can slowly start gradually working in, increasing again on the exercises. And it might even take you more than a month, but you know what? I think you're going to find the 10 pounds is going to come off pretty quick. You're going to find it a lot easier to reach your goals. Alright, next question. Hi Jason, what are your thoughts on mixed grip pull-ups if one has really small hands? And if one uses mixed grip for deadlift, should one use the other mixed grip for pull-ups to avoid muscle imbalance? Thanks as always. No, don't ever do mixed grip pull-ups. Don't do mixed grip rows. I want you to think about this for a moment. You are using completely different muscles. You get away with mixed grip. You get away with mixed grip on the deadlift because the biceps themselves are not flexors. They're stabilizers. There is tension put on the biceps. In fact, biceps grow from deadlifts. They don't grow anywhere near as much on deadlifts as they will do from chin-ups, pull-ups, rows, curls, things like that. But they will grow from it. That is not subject to debate. That has been noted. They will cause a new biceps to grow. But you're not flexing them. You are totally changing the flexors when you're doing that. And here's my question. Just because you have small hands, yes, some people with small hands really struggle to build enough grip strength to deadlift 550, 600 pounds, things like that raw. That's common. Do you weigh 500 pounds? I mean, if you weigh 500 pounds with small hands, you got bigger problems in your grip strength. So that being said, no, you need to do your chin-ups and pull-ups normal. Use the same grip. If you're going to do chin-ups, then do chin-ups. If you're going to do pull-ups, do pull-ups. Don't mix the grips. Do the one that you're doing. Both hands need to be the same. And you know what? If you just work on your grip strength a little bit, you should not ever have grip issues on these exercises. Alright, this should not be an issue. If you do, just keep working on your grip. It will improve. But this is not the sort of fix you use for that. The reason we do mixed grip on deadlift is not because you're stronger on your grip, is that it prevents the bar from rolling. Bar roll will roll a bar out of your hands. Mixed grip changes it to where the tension is going equal both directions so that you don't have a tendency for the bar to start rolling when you're lifting it. When you use a double overhand or you use a hook grip or anything else, there is that potential for the bar to roll. And that will mess your grip up because it's just harder to hold on to that. and that can cause injuries, can cause other problems. So that's not what's going on, and please don't confuse the two here. You should not be doing a mixed grip on chin-ups and pull-ups. I wouldn't recommend doing it at all. Yes, it will contribute to muscle imbalances, and it won't even help your grip significantly. All right, next question. Hey coach, I wake up really early for my morning session. What would you recommend for breakfast? Something not too heavy. I'm just about to start your 5x5 program, so going to need some energy. Could I just have some oats the night before and maybe bananas before the workout? Cheers. Eat whatever you want. Just make sure it's not heavy and it has carbs in it. You know, you don't need to have someone else tell you what to eat, your carb choices. I mean, get some carbs in. Don't eat a lot of fat. It could be oats, it could be cereal, it could be fruit, rice, bread. Doesn't matter. Just don't eat a lot of fat before you train. Make sure it's carbs. And don't eat so many that it makes you feel bloated or sick. So that your GI tract isn't working too hard. You're just trying to get enough to get extra blood sugar so that you have extra glucose and extra glycogen to train on. There's no need to sit around and worry about specific foods, because, you know, do you really want to eat the exact same foods every day before you train for the next year? I don't think so. That gets really boring. Eat whatever you want as a carb source. In some carb sources, too much fiber, but the fiber will come from the volume that you eat, or too much fat can sit too heavy in your stomach. It can be a problem for your training, but otherwise it doesn't matter. Don't worry about micromanaging stuff to this extent. You're not going to see probably a significant difference whether you choose bananas, rice, oats, whatever before you train. You're probably not going to see any difference. Just get some carbs in. All right, next question. Jason, can someone on gear do a harsh cut early, eating only protein, 1,200 calories, and still gain muscle mass if they have a fairly high body fat percentage? Or would the drugs not do enough to offset the deficit in terms of muscle repair, etc.? I know you have covered similar questions before, but I'm not looking at this as a quick fix kind of thing. More likely to get to a better baseline. I'm not into the whole super lean, dangerously low levels of body fat. Thanks. This question can't be answered because there's too many variables. Now, for someone to gain muscle even on gear on 1,200 calories is virtually impossible. Virtually impossible. You see guys like Jeff Side run these really, really low calorie, really low fat diets and hold on to his muscle because he uses tren. I mean, I've covered that in the past. Jeff Side clearly uses tren on his cuts. That's the only substance that's going to preserve muscle with what his metabolic rate is and dropping his calories that low to get as lean as he does. It's tren. But you're talking about gaining muscle on ultra low starvation calories, even though they're protein. That's not going to work. You might preserve muscle, but you know what? Here's the thing. You might lose muscle too. Because on gear is a relative question, and it's relative to your body size. Alright, it's relative to your body size. People seem to have these ideas in their head that there's this magical line you cross, that there's natty and there's enhanced, and that everyone who's enhanced gets the exact same effect. As if the specific substances they take don't matter, that their doses don't matter. Well, I can assure you the gains are going to be tremendously different between someone who uses a gram of tren with 2 grams of test every week versus someone who uses 300 milligrams of test a week. All right, they're not an apples to apples comparison. They're both on gear. One of them is effectively on 10 times as much as the other, and one of those that are in his mix being stronger. See how that works? It's not just on gear. Well, 1,200 calories, if you're carrying a significant amount of muscle mass, you would probably need a pretty significant amount of gear just to keep the muscle that you have if you're dieting and cutting that way. You're going to need it just to hold on to what you have. You need to forget things like gaining. You are doing basically a stupid style cut if you do that. I'm sorry, but someone who even uses gear to try to preserve muscle and they're going to follow a 1,200 calorie diet, as an active, healthy male with a significant amount of muscle mass, that's just sheer stupidity. Don't do stuff like that. Don't do it. Nothing good's going to come out of that. You are basically intentionally starving yourself and hoping that taking drugs are going to help you. This is not going to be good for your overall fitness. It's not going to give you the results that you think it is. You're not going to recomposition on 1,200 calories. Guys who recomposition are usually using heftier amounts of drugs than they normally use. They have certain drugs in the mix. They up their dose and they lower their calories a little bit. Alright, they lower their calories a little bit. That's a big difference between what you're trying to do here. Not going to work the way that you think it is. Alright, next question. Do test booster supplements work? Short answer, no, they don't work. They have been shown in clinical trials to be virtually ineffective. All right, they don't work. I've never seen any reasonable evidence that suggests that they work. And I'm going to go so far as to say when people say, well, you know, they can boost your sex drive, because someone said that down, they can boost your libido. Well, so will a sugar pill if I tell you it'll boost your libido. If I convince you, like if I were to put out a product right now and try to release studies and tell you guys this will increase your libido, I promise you, this $15 bottle of product of this herb or whatever, this mixture has been shown to boost libido in studies. It boosts sex drive, makes your dick harder, all of that. If I were to convince you of that and sell you that bottle and I put nothing but cellulose, just a filler in that pill, and you took it, probably half of you out there would see a boost in your sex drive. Probably half of you. So when people say, oh no, but they'll boost your sex drive, yeah, because you believe it's going to boost your sex drive, because you believe you're taking a test booster. Doesn't have any magical ability to do so. These test boosters don't even actually increase libido. If you were to just take them as a placebo and they didn't tell you what you were taking or the purpose was, like you were just given something, they said don't worry about what it's going to do and report back, and it was just a sugar pill or even a test booster, it was one of these Tribulus or whatever they're putting out there, I promise you almost nobody would report an increase in sex drive because they weren't expecting an increase in sex drive. They weren't expecting an increase in testosterone. Therefore, they wouldn't get it. These things don't work. And even the ones that people think work, like whatever, D-aspartic acid, most of the studies haven't shown any improvement in testosterone. And the one study that did, you got to keep in mind, was done on endurance athletes who already have sometimes lower test and everything, who may or may not have been using anabolics off and on because they were high-level competitors over in Europe. But the test boost that they saw is the only real one that's shown it. There have been other studies that showed zero. That's a problem. So something happened in this study that was unusual, but the test boost that they saw kept them into the low, like the totally normal range. They didn't go up to what you would expect for some guy on a high-dose TRT, not for a healthy 20-year-old male. They didn't hit those levels. They still stayed middle of the road. These guys, a lot of them, when you look at their numbers, seem to have slightly low test. But the thing is, people say, oh, so it could boost low test. No, because you don't know what else happened in that study. It wasn't replicatable, meaning other studies haven't shown that effect. So something unusual happened in that study that we don't know the data. Something wasn't done correctly. There was some other variable involved that hasn't carried over when that substance has been tested on other people who wasn't that specific group of athletes. So just food for thought there. So do test boosters work? No, they're a complete ripoff. And if you actually get a libido increase from them, it's called a placebo effect. It's not actually the substance causing it, it's your mind expecting it to happen, and therefore it happens. Because sex drive is largely psychological. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.